requirement is different, we search for other ways to achieve the same spec whatever required, right? And the possible way is put together multiple ICs of lower sizes. We can achieve any word size we want, as well as any capacity of memory we require. We'll be able to put in. That is what we discussed, right? And this is one example which we discussed, that is to get to M cross 32-bit memory module using the available memory 512K into 8. Okay, so to achieve a 32-bit we require 4 words, whereas 512K gives only 1 word from each location. So we duplicate it 4 times to get 16-bit 32-bit word. And same way the capacity we require is 2 mega locations, whereas in every IC what we have is only 512K. So again we repeat it 4 times, right? So the basic address, the lower order address, whatever we are giving here, that's from A0 to A18. When we give that address, all from every chip, the locations, the same address will be available. Okay, because it's 512K and the first 18 address bits represent one location in, I mean, the address range of address will be same for every chip. Okay, so when you give that address in the same location, same address will be present in all the 16 chips, in fact, right? And here when we choose which row we want, right, by the higher order address bits A19 and A20, we only one row of the chip selected, and the line what you are seeing here, are you people able to see a cursor I'm moving?
Yes, ma'am, but it is intermittent. It's not continuous.
Okay, okay. I have some problem with my pen drive where I had the presentation, so I have to go with the PDF version, and that is why I'm not able to mark it here or anything. So the select line, if you see from the 2-bit decoder, it is given to every chip.
టైం టేబుల్ ఇస్తారు, ఈయన పెట్టలేదు. ఈయన ఇప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తున్నాడు, ఈ రోజు స్టార్ట్ చేస్తున్నాడు, ఈ రోజు 10 మందికి అంట, రేపు 10 మందికి అవుతుందో అవ్వదో ఆయనే చెప్పలేడు, రేపు 10 మందికి అయిపోతుంది, అది అయిపోతుంది, ఎప్పుడు వచ్చింది ఇంత ఇంత మాట్లాడుకొని ఇట్లా అట్లా ఏదో చెప్పుకొని.
Gokul.
Yes, ma'am.
Ask him to call me after the class.
Yes,
ask Surya Teja to call me after the class.
Yes, ma'am.
So the output from the 2-bit decoder, which is used here to select which 4 chips we wanted exactly for reading a word, right? That's a 32-bit word here. Okay, so you can see that one line from decoder connects to every 4 chips in the row, right? So that we get 1 byte from each of the chip, and we are able to get a 32-bit word. Okay, but till that it will be ambiguous that which because all 16 chips will have the same address set of address, right? So exactly which 4 bytes supposed to be connected with each of the bus you see here, right? On the right of every IC we have a 2-way bidirectional bus connection, right? On the left of every IC we have the address lines. Okay, so in every chip one location would have been selected, and out of those 16 selected locations, which 4 words will be given for the operation depends on the output of the 2-bit decoder what we are having in the design. Okay. Now this is for 512 into 8. With the same we will be able to build, now this we are getting to M into 32-bit word size of memory. With the same arrangement, right, once we have this 2M into 32, we can build 4M from the same, just repeating whatever the configuration we did, right. We get one more address bit, right, and that address bit we used to select this entire module, or there will be duplication of the same thing one more time, right. So that single bit will select either this module should be selected or another repetition of the same should be selected. Okay, like that you can make it, you can bring in the size of 4M, right, and one more bit improved, you can again double the size, like that you can bring in 8M and you can bring in 16M. So any size you want, right, you can keep on build with the lower size available. All that we have to take care is the mapping. We have to ensure that we read the correct locations, right. The mapping is what matters in the entire design here. Okay. So there will be a memory controller, right, and sometimes called as memory management unit, right, which handles these the control signal you get from the processor may not be exact control signals what will be required at the memory side when you do configurations like this. Okay, so there will be a memory controller, or it is also known as the memory management unit, where it receives the control signal as well as the address bits, right. And it for example when you give the address, we separate it as row address and column address. So naturally there will be a separation and decide which set of bits should be given to the row address selection and which set of bits supposed to be given for the column address selection, and enable the right control signal during that point of time, right. You have full address incoming to the memory controller, and when you are giving the address, you are giving it as row or column address only. Okay, so when you give the row address, you enable the row address strobe, and when you send the column address through the same address bus, you enable column address strobe, right. And then you say whether it's a read or write. And chip select sometimes includes your you can include the addresses also for chip select, right. When you do the mapping of address bits, you can use some of the address bits in the actual address to select which memory module or which IC is supposed to be selected at that point of time for the given address. All that you can generate. Okay, so the set of control signals given by the processor are totally different from whatever the set of control signals are the information. For that case, address, you cannot simply give the entire address, right. Set of bits which indicates the row address should be given when row address strobe is enabled, and set of address bits when column address strobe is enabled. Only those address bits should be given through the row or column address, right. And once the location has been identified, the data from the memory will be directly given to the processor. Okay, and here we already discussed that if the memory is a slow processing device, then the accessibility becomes a question and idling time of the processor becomes a question. So we can even go for intermediate memory configurations also. Okay, so when we there are 2 points to be noted when we interface a memory controller or a memory management unit. One is when you have the buses very wide. For example, here if it's a 21-bit address, you pass on the same 21-bit to every location, right. It becomes very expensive, and already I told you routing is the biggest problem in the entire IC design. right? So not a problem. Consumes lot of effort and time in completing the design. Okay, so it becomes naturally expensive and requires lot of space too, right? So wherever possible, we are trying to reduce the bus size. Okay, so invariably when you here change it to row or column address, you divide the entire 21 bit into two separate address bits, right? So one set of bits at one time, another set of bits at another time. Naturally, your bus requirement is not that high compared with your very wide buses you use, right? So in maximum places we try to replace it with a narrow bus, and which is faster also, right? And one such is what we call as the RAM bus memory. And more about the bus design, how it influences the performance, you might have gone through in your ARM, right, where it completely works on the AMBA bus architecture, right? At different places, it satisfies the requirement. At the same time, it uh, reduces all these space requirement and expenses, all that it reduces, right? It provides effective usage. Okay, so different bus architectures are there. Okay, in general we call it as the RAM bus architecture, where we go with narrow bus, which is faster when compared with the wider buses. Okay, clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now, when we discussed, I said we will come back to this later, right? Where the requirement is actually 16 MB is required, right? Whereas we have 2 MB, right? And that 2 MB is implemented with 512 bytes. Okay, that's the uh, arrangement like we discussed there. It's 2m into 32-bit word we discussed, but here the word size is only 8-bit, where the memory design is 2 MB. With the 2 MB memory, we are supposed to come up with the 16 MB, right? And that 2 MB is also implemented with 512 bytes memory. Okay, 2 MB again is not a single IC. Okay, that's the information given. Okay, now actually in the presentation I have hidden the design, but since I'm not having it right now, you are seeing the design itself here straight away. Okay, but whenever some requirement is given, what you have to do first? Asked for any memory design, what is the first thing to do? Anyone? Any one of you answer, please. One of you answer when this memory requirement is given and the available specification also given. What do we have? What are we supposed to do first? What happened? All of you are really sleeping after food? Then I have to call one of you to ask. Priyanka, are you there? Priyanka, roll number 7.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Priyanka. Can you tell me what you are supposed to do when requirement is given and the availability is also given? What you have to find out first? Priyanka, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know, ma'am.
Okay. Raghavendra, roll number 5. Raghavendra.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me when the requirement is given and the available memory spec also given, what is the first step we have to do?
Number of the chips required, ma'am.
Excellent. Number of chips required you have to find out, right? So that you will be finding out based on what are all the parameters?
Like it's word size, ma'am.
Word size? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it based only on the word size?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, Raghavendra. Good.
Thank you, ma'am.
We have the requirement will be there and the availability will be there. Two things we have to consider here. One is the word size, second is the capacity. Okay. So that is why in the previous design, it is a 32-bit word, whereas 512K bytes only, KB only was there in one memory chip. And we went for 4 such in one row, right? So that we will be able to get 32-bit. But in this design, if you see, all they required is only 16 MB, right? And available is also 2 MB. So it's very easy, right? Where the word size is the same. So the word size is the same. So the number of rows going to be only 1, right? And the capacity is 16 MB is what is required, and what we have is 2 MB, right? So how many such 2 MBs we may be requiring to make it up to 16? Anybody? Are you guys not getting the question? Otherwise, I take the whiteboard. Okay, the requirement is actually 16 MB, right? And available is actually 2 MB, right? So the first thing we have to consider both the word size as well as the capacity. Now considering the word size, there won't be any problem because this is also bytes and this is also bytes. Okay, so one set is enough.
Ma'am, we can't see the board, whiteboard.
Yeah, it went off now. Earlier also you were not able to see?
No, ma'am.
Mm,
PPT only we are able to see.
one second. I'm sharing once again. Are you able to see now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the number of the word size required is same in both. So we need not duplicate for number of rows. Okay. Now all that we have to decide is only for matching the size, right? So if we want 16 MB of memory to build from 2 MB of memory, how many such duplication we may be required? I already told you, right? One duplication you provide, 2M becomes. See, we have 2 MB memory, right? You provide one duplication of the same. How much size you will be having?
On MB.
Huh? How much, Kishore? Double of whatever we are having, right? Every time you increase one address bit, naturally the size gets doubled, right? So you provide one duplication, you will be ending up with 4. You provide one more duplication of that 4, you will be ending up with 8. And you provide one more duplication of the 4, you will be ending up with 16, right? So 4 such set you repeat, right? If you have 4 such set, you will be ending up with I mean every time you add one address, but you will be ending up with 16 MB, right? You have 2 MB, you duplicate it once, you get 4 MB. Now the entire setup you duplicate one more time, you get 8 MB. Now the entire setup you duplicate one more time, you get 16 MB. And we duplicate the entire set because every time we add one address bit, we will be able to access one of the same set and one more of its duplication, right? So 4 times we repeat, we will be able to come up with a memory of from 2 MB, we will be able to come up with 16 MB. Okay. Now what we have, even that 2 MB is actually not directly 2 MB. It's actually from 512 bytes. Okay. And from 512 bytes, we have to make it to the size of 2M. Right. So if you check in the cell array, the basic cell unit is 512 into 8. That is all you have. Right. And you want to make it 216 MB, right? You can even straight away find out by dividing 6M by 512, right? And you will know how many ICs will be required to reach this size, right? When you, one way you proceed through the 2 MB calculation, and then you find out for that 2 MB how many such how many 512 is required, and then you multiply that 4 times. Okay. Otherwise, the other way what you can do is I just opened a whiteboard. Once you are able to see it, let me know. Are you guys able to see it?
Not yet, ma'am.
It's reloading again and again, so I don't think that will work out. Anyway, here if you find out right one, you have the answer right away here. Since it is the PDF version, I am not able to hide any design here. So all that we have is in one chip, we have 512 bytes only, right? And we wanted 16 MB, right? So you directly you can multiply from 512 or from 2 MB. If you multiply, you will get how many times 2 MB should be duplicated. And again, for getting 2 MB from 512 also, you have to calculate separately and then multiply it with the value what you have for coming up with 16 MB from 2 MB. Okay, when you multiply that way also, you will be getting the answer for how many number of chips will be required to come up with one such design. Okay. So here you can see the requirement. This basic module is 512.8. I mean 512 into word size of 8. It's simply 512 bytes. Okay, and it's been replicated for 4096 times, right? So when you multiply 4096 times, you will be getting the 2 MB, right? And again, you have to repeat such ones for 4 times. The basic cell you have, the innermost cell is 512 and the outermost cell is 4096 such ICs you are having to come up with 2 MB, right? And you repeat this for 4 times, you will be ending up with 16 MB of RAM. Okay, that is the concept behind it, right? And for accessing this 2 MB of memory, you come up with the address, row address, and the column address. Column address should be based on the lower 8-bit, and row address should be based on the higher remaining bits, right? And when you duplicate this to get 16 MB, again number of address bits, 3 more address bits will be added. 3 more or 4 more? 4 times you are duplicating. 3 more address bits will be added. Okay, so like this, from the basic module given, any module you can build, and from the built module again you can go with any higher capacity you want it, right? So in general, if we observe, SRAM is fast memory but very expensive, right? Because each memory cell internal structure can have up to 6 transistors very easily, right? So in this case, it's difficult to come up with a large memory size. So if you go with when we say difficult, it is not that not possible, but the expense will be more. Okay, so then we cannot use it in the design for a feasible system design. Okay, so mostly this we use it wherever we require to match up the speed, like the cache memories, right? In those cases we use the SRAM, right? And DRAM, I already told you, it's only thing is you have to refresh this memory cell at the defined period of time, right? And the refresher circuit is also inbuilt nowadays, right? So it's very simple and less expensive memory. For the lesser cost, you can get higher capacity. Okay, so mostly the DRAM or DDR-RAM, any type of descendant of this family, you can use it. Again, it used as a bridge between the cache memory and the secondary memory. Okay, again, if you are directly going to integrate the cache memory with the secondary memory, then again the speed mismatch will be there. Okay, So what we do is we have the processor. Inside the processor or next to the processor, you will have a cache memory, right? And next to the cache memory, we will have some RAM memories, right? And mostly it's of type D RAM, right? And cache memories of type SRAM, right? And then only we have the secondary storage, which is the hard disk and other CD drives, all that, right? So the usage of secondary storage is very less expensive and gives you very good storage, right? If your RAM is of nowadays only it's 8 GB and 16 GB RAMs are used. So, but your hard disks are giving you the capacity of in TBs, right? The capacity is, but the amount you pay is not that different. Okay, so this for secondary storage we go with these kind of memories. Okay, so in general, the cache memory also sometimes nowadays actually 5 level of cache memory is used very easily, right? And when you have more number of cache memories, the possibility of usage will be like 2 or 3 level of cache will be there, right? And as you progress towards the processor, the speed of cache will be good, right? And the capacity will be reduced. And as you come away from the processor, the speed of cache memory is also reduced, and the size can be increased in that case. Okay, just a primary cache and secondary cache are all not mostly used nowadays. And some of the processors same level or same speed of cache memory, more than one used, where separate cache memory for storing the instruction and separate cache memory for storing the data. Because when it becomes when it comes to the requirement of data, naturally the processor has to wait till the data has been if the data is not available in the cache memory. Okay, so next, I mean, with the processor, there is a possibility of more than one cache memory, right? And sometimes they can be split up between instructions and data. And there is possibility of 5 level of cache, and most implemented is at least 3 level of cache memories implemented nowadays. Okay. You are seeing here only 2 level of cache memory. One is the primary cache and the other is the secondary cache memory, right? Then main memory can be your RAM memories, and then comes the secondary storage devices, it will be able to provide large storage, but it cannot match up the speed of the processor requirement. Okay, so this is how the memory hierarchy is, right? Part of the hierarchy you are seeing and part I have explained you. 3 points you can observe from here, right? As you go from the bottom to the top, the speed of the memory is keep on increasing, right? Speed of main memory is faster when compared with secondary memory, and speed of secondary cache will be definitely higher than the main memory, and speed of primary cache is definitely higher than the secondary memory, right? Same way, cost you pay per bit, I mean for the same size of memory, the amount you pay for secondary cache will be less when compared with the amount you pay for the primary cache. So as you go up in the ladder here, cost also increases, not only speed. Okay, and because of that we limit the size of the memory. So naturally, as you come down the ladder, you can see that the storage capacity is increased when compared from the bottom, I mean from the top, right? Whereas you come down the lane, you get more storage, right? This is the gist of why we have so many types of memories and why we are not having only one type of memory in the entire system design, right? What makes us to go with different so many memories in one system design, right? All those questions you can find the answer in one hierarchy diagram given here. And if you know how much you have paid for your how much you are paying for your RAM of one size, how much you are paying for your secondary or hard disk of particular size, all that if you know, you can understand and relate it better. And if you don't know, please go and search, get the information, because this is all very, very fundamental information required to be known for any engineers. Clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we go for discussing. We discussed that 3 ways you can provide speed up of operation. One is by cache memory, second is by providing main memory, and third possibility is by giving virtual memory concept, right? So the first one and main one is the cache memory arrangement, right, given in the design. Okay, already said it is between always given to bridge the gap between the processor and the main memory, right? So cache again set of cache again a memory only has set of memory locations, right? And one possible way to implement cache is using the SRAM. Okay, so in cache memory also we are not going to use it like every single word you can replace the way you want it, or every single byte you can access, but the setup how you arrange it, right, that is different. So here in cache memory, group of memory locations combined into one block, right, and we call it as the cache block or cache line. Okay, so every time you find one data, you replace that entire block only, right? Whenever you require one data, entire block of data only we replace it, and the reason for that we will discuss definitely, right? And the other thing you should remember is the processor will be giving the actual address, but all those addresses won't be present in the cache memory, and since cache memory is less in size when compared with the secondary memory, right, those many number of address bits won't be required also, right, but the address from the processor will be always pointing it to the secondary memory only. Okay, so the mapping, whatever address given by the processor, how do you exactly find out whether that address is present in the RAM, in the cache memory or not, right? So you have to map the address bits, right, and then find out whether those addresses are there in the cache memory, and if not, naturally you go for look in the main memory, and there also you are not able to find out, then you go and find out from the secondary memory. Okay, so every cache here is a set of memory locations combined and marked as one block, right? And the data whatever you are looking for, if that data is there during a write operation or during a read operation, whatever be the operation, if that address is present there, we call it as a hit. Okay, and if the address is not present there, we call it as a miss. The performance of the cache memory is always based on the hit rate, right? If it has good hit rate, then the design is acceptable. Good hit rate means at least 90%, right? If the hit rate is less than that, then the design is not acceptable. Okay. So I just mentioned that we always replace a block of data only in the cache memory, and cache memory is combined into number of blocks. So that is because when you take one word from the secondary memory and put it in the cache memory, if that happens to be an instruction, naturally your program is going to be sequential execution only, right? You take one instruction, execute. Then you take the next instruction, execute. In this case, if you just take one word and put it in the cache, and if it happens to be instruction, which is for sequential access, then you that means the next instruction is missing. Okay, so always the cache memory is filled based on two things. One is the temporal and other is the spatial information, right? That is the time when it has been used and when it may be required next time, that prediction, and where it has been stored. Okay, like I said, if it is one instruction you execute, naturally you look for the next instruction, right? Sequential instruction will be there in the next location itself, right? So the space or where it has been stored also predicts that what may be required next. Okay, so that is why instead of having a word put it in the cache memory, we move block of words always from the main memory or from the secondary memory to the cache memory. Whenever some data is required, we move it as a block only. Okay, so this way it reduces significant amount of time, right? Execution time is reduced, right? And naturally improves the performance, right? Now we assume based on the temporal and spatial information, we predict that these will be the data required next, and we put it in the cache. When it is not there, when the processor is looking for some data in any of the blocks present in the cache memory, if the processor is not able to find whatever data it is looking for, then naturally that means we have to bring in new set of data into the cache memory. Okay, so sometimes there will be space to bring in the new data to store, and sometimes cache may be full also. In those cases, we have to have a plan of, if the cache memory is full, what data can be replaced, which block of data can be replaced and put in the new set of data, right? That for that also we should have a protocol or mechanism, various mapping techniques available, various replacement strategies available, right? And based on all these only the hit rate and miss rate will be identified. Okay, so if you provide a very bad protocol or very bad replacement strategy, replacement algorithm, then the performance of cache will be very poor. That means we cannot accept that particular design, right? Then again you have to start from the scratch to come up with the proper design. So whenever there is some miss, whether it is for read or for write, okay, when we say write miss, you try to store some data, the processor is trying to store some data and that address is not there in the cache memory, then that means that data should be stored in the secondary storage, or that data should be brought in to the cache memory, then you replace it at the right location. Okay, same way when you try to read, the processor tries to read some data, that data is not there in the cache memory. It has to go all the way down to the secondary storage, bring in the block of data, and then only the processor can continue its work. So in both these cases, write miss as well as read miss, there are two ways possible. One is you change the entire content, you bring in the entire content from the secondary storage to the cache memory, right? Or whatever is immediately required, you bring in that word and then replace the remaining words at the back of the time where processor will be carrying out its own operation. Okay, so that is what is write through protocol or read entire block and status. You replace the entire content in the cache memory, right? And wait, processor has to wait till you complete the read operation or till you complete the write operation. Okay, so that data in the main memory also it should be updated, in the secondary memory also it should be updated, whatever the changes you are making, right? The other way is you write back or copy back protocol, or you load through on or early restart. You make the changes in the cache memory with whatever data you want to change, and remaining things you can carry out at the background where processor can carry out its operation, right? In the other one, the processor has to wait till you complete the entire process either in the secondary memory or in the cache memory, whereas in the second method, in write back or copy back, or in load through or early restart, as soon as that particular word has been replaced in the cache memory, the processor can continue its operation, and at the back of the functioning, cache memory and primary memory will deal with it and update the entire data. Okay. So during this process too, it will take some time, right? You can update the cache memory very quickly, but updating the primary secondary memory will be time consuming, right? So to match up that some data might have been updated by that time in the cache memory, but that may not be the case with the secondary memory. So what we do is we use an indication called a dirty bit or modified bit, where we indicate that it has been modified only in the cache memory. So when that bit is set, depends on the condition, set or reset, it will indicate that it has been modified only in the cache memory, and it has to be modified, updated in the secondary memory, right? So till the value gets updated in the secondary memory, the dirty bit or the modified bit won't be replaced, right? Once the data in the cache memory updated value from the cache memory has been updated in the main secondary memory, then this dirty bit will be removed or deactivated. Okay, so in the second method of both write back as well as load through, processor time is not wasted that much, right? But still you have the problem of having one data in cache memory and some other data in the secondary memory for the same addressed value. Okay, so that we have to take care. Other than that risk, the processor time is saved, resources utilized better. But in both of the first method, both in write through as well as read entire block, the data has been updated in every place wherever that address is present, right? So data mismatch won't be there and data loss won't be there, but processor time will be wasted like anything. Okay, so that is the concept of two methods for both write miss as well as read miss, right? So just take few minutes, try to understand whatever we discussed. Want me to go to any particular slide also, let me know. Next is only how do we map and how do we find out the data, whatever the processor is looking for. Okay, that we will discuss in the next class. Now with whatever we have gone through, you have any doubt, you raise it.